Good evening. I'd like to call the Wednesday, April 23rd, 2014 council meeting to order. It's approximately 6:15 p.m. this evening. The invocation will be by Pastor Chris Capolo from City Church, right across the street. Excuse me, sir. I apologize. We'll follow by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Fairclough. Could everyone please stand?
Good evening. Join with me as I open up and pray for our city.
You are the first caller and will be placed on hold until the next caller arrives.
The Lord is answering right now. We are the first ones to call up to you, Father. That's great. What priority we get here in Homestead. Join with me as I pray for our gathering here and for the city. Father, we just come before you and as leaders and residents of the city of Homestead, just to thank you for this beautiful city that you've entrusted to us. This is truly a beautiful city that we have so much to be thankful for, so much to celebrate, so many things to get excited about in the coming years as we serve the people in the city. There are so many opportunities to do good for our people, and with those opportunities come challenges, and so we come before your throne of grace and ask that you would give us a spirit of wisdom and discernment on anything that needs to be discussed and deliberated on. Give us compassion and understanding for our people and their needs, and in all things give us humility and honesty. As we do this, may we look to Jesus, who was the king servant, who served his city that he lived in, so much so that he sacrificed his life and died for that city. May, in looking at him, we remember not to use the power entrusted to us to serve ourselves, but to serve others, and not to seek our own glory and the glory of men, but the glory that belongs to you and your kingdom alone. And we ask this in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in pledging our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado, absent. Councilman Williams, absent. Councilwoman Fairclough,
Here.
Councilwoman Waldman,
Here.
Councilman Burgess, absent. Vice Mayor Shelley,
Here.
Mayor Porter.
Here. Before we go into public comments, we've got a couple of really special guests I'd like to ask to come forward. First, Fire Chief Dave Downey of True Friend for Homestead. Would you say a few words, please, sir?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, and residents of the City of Homestead, thanks for having me this evening. My name is Dave Downey, and I'm your fire chief. I wanted to take a couple of minutes and just talk a little bit about our department and our service to this city. First of all, a little bit about myself. I was appointed fire chief a little over a year ago. I've spent 32 years in the fire service, and I've worked every rank in the fire service. I'm both a firefighter and a paramedic, worked 20 of those 32 years riding the trucks. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue is a full-service fire rescue department. We have 66 stations, 140 units. We're one of the 10th largest departments in the United States. Last year, we responded to over 240,000 calls for assistance, and our department has 2,400 personnel. 2,000 of those are the sworn firefighter paramedics. Some of the notable accomplishments: we're the second largest department behind Houston that's fully accredited through the fire service industry. We are on the verge of publishing our heart attack survival, or STEMI, data. If you have to have a heart attack, Miami-Dade County is the place to have it. We boast one of the highest survival rates in the nation. We're seeing true success stories. When I became a paramedic in 1981, we would give medication and allow help the pain of the heart attack, but there wasn't anything really you could do. The muscle would die, and the person would suffer. Now we're seeing people with heart attacks, the symptoms actually reversing. We're doing the same thing with strokes, and we're part of a stroke coalition in the county as well. Last year, we received the Congressional Fire Service Institute's EMS Excellence Award for our EMS programs, and our paramedic team placed first in the international competition. Despite the challenges we've had with the budgets, and I'm sure everybody's seen it, especially with the county, I'm here to tell you that your fire department is strong. We haven't laid off a single firefighter, we haven't shut down a single unit, and we continue to climb out of these economic challenges. Our budget is starting to grow, and my goal is to continue to provide the service that's necessary for our community. So I'll continue to monitor the budget. Specific to the City of Homestead, you've been a part of our fire rescue services since 1978. Last year, we responded to just under 8,000 calls here in the City of Homestead. 88% of those calls are provided by one of 3 stations here in the city. Station 16, the oldest one, Station 65 in East Homestead, and 66 in the villages of Homestead. But there's 6 additional stations 3.5 miles within the city, or outside of the city, totaling 11 more units. Another chief, 5 rescues, and 6 more fire engines. Daily servicing this entire area, you have 40 firefighters, and of them, about 57% are paramedics. You see, most of our fire trucks are also paramedic fire engines. So even though you may call for an ambulance and a fire truck shows up, chances are it shows up with paramedics on it that can start the life-saving care. The county conducts a customer service feedback program for many years, and I'm proud to say the fire department is ranked highest amongst all county departments. Countywide, out of a possible 5, fire department has averaged 4.86. Specific to the City of Homestead and the feedback, we actually are 4.91. You guys are helping keep our average up there. And lastly, but probably most important to everybody, and that's response time. Countywide, our average is 6 minutes and 33 seconds. Here in the city, we're under the average at 6 minutes and 19 seconds. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of introduce myself and give you a little bit of information and background. I'm always available if you need anything, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate you coming down and give us an update. And I want to tell you, living through the days when we only had Station 16 and the magnitude of the calls it was overwhelming for Station 16. They held it up as long as they could, but it was a blessing when you guys put the other 2 stations down here, and it's been a huge improvement. We thank you very much for that. And another comment that I'd like to say is, I know our situation with our police department and the fact that we're trying to get them out of a sick building and get them into a safer facility. And I know you're instrumental in helping us do that and as quickly as possible. So I want to really, on behalf of the council and our staff, thank you and your staff for really going above and beyond to get our guys and girls in a safe facility as quick as possible. And I commend you for that, and thank you. And if we can do anything to help you in the future, please call us and let us know. Councilman Walden?
Yes, Chief, I just want to tell you that out of those calls in the villages, I was personally involved in 2 of them, and one was at our village clubhouse, which we had a fire recently. But I can tell you that one was a 911 call, and the other one, I'm never allowed to make soup again, homemade soup. So I almost burnt the house down. but you were fantastic. Your teams, the paramedics, they were at my house within 4 minutes. It was just unbelievable, unbelievable, and we are so lucky to have you and your men and women who serve us. And I just thought that was ironic that I'm sitting up here and I'm involved in 3 of your calls in the villages of Homestead. But thank you so much. You're a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anytime you ever have another update, let us know. Come down and keep us up to speed on what you're doing. Our community is very grateful.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you for your time.
Thank you. The other esteemed guest that we have really needs no introduction. He's already been up here, but our hero in the school system and in the school board is Dr. Feldman. And I've asked Dr. Feldman on behalf of all of the things that are going on in the public school system in South Dade to keep us abreast and bring down the information on the different accolades and the different things that are going on in the school system locally, in the public school system. So he's been gracious enough to do that, again, much like the Chief did, keeping us aware of what services they're providing for us. So, Dr. Feldman, appreciate you taking your time to come down.
Thank you very much, Mayor Porter, Vice Mayor Shelley, council people, council citizens, guests. I really appreciate this. This is the time for Homestead and South Dade area. For too long, the school system has forgotten that we have people living south of 152nd Street. And because of our meetings, our ongoing meetings, Mayor, we've been able to begin a whole new resurrection, renaissance of programs right here in Homestead. And I appreciate the opportunity, and I'd like to introduce and call up, if I can, we have 2 superintendents with us. We have the superintendent of the Education Transformation Office, Dr. Ortiz, who oversees a number of schools in this area, as well as Dr. Marcus Moran, who is the superintendent of the South area. Combined, Dr. Moran has about 100 schools, and Dr. Ortiz has something a little bit less than that. They also brought with them a gentleman who is now the new principal of Homestead Senior. And with your permission, I'd like them to just brief you on the new programs that are coming in, the new magnets, the new ideas, and the kind of things that we've waited a long time for and now we're about to get. And we thank you and the entire council for your patience and your support. So if that's okay, we'll proceed. Thank you, sir. Dr. Moran?
Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Moran. I'm the South Region Superintendent, and it is a pleasure to be here today. Certainly, it's an honor to stand before you because one of my first meetings as the Region Superintendent was with the Mayor, and we had an opportunity to discuss some of the programs that are down here in Homestead. But most of all, I was very inspired by the commitment from the council and the city, as well as the Mayor, to education. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm actually getting acquainted with the schools at this time. As you know, schools are in the process of taking the FCAT and other tests like the SATs. As far as I can tell from discussions with your administrators at the school sites, things are going very well. Not surprised. You have an outstanding group of administrators here in Homestead, and certainly the schools are showing great progress. We are planning a one particular revision to one of your schools, which I would like to highlight today, if I may. Campbell Drive Middle School is actually going to be repurposed, actually reborn, to be exact. The school is going to become a full-fledged Cambridge Academy school, and also it's going to become the training site for Cambridge in North America. So in addition to providing an excellent opportunity to our students in this South Dade area, we're also going to be bringing in educators literally from all over the country, Canada and other countries, to this area to take part in actually the Cambridge training. We feel it's going to be a very, very strong program, one that will provide 9th to 12th graders an opportunity to obtain a Cambridge diploma by the time that they graduate. So the program is scheduled to start in August of this year. We're going to initiate the program with 150 9th grade students, and we hope to add another 150 every year until we reach the capacity of approximately 600 students. We're very encouraged by this program. We feel that it'll bring a quality program to Campbell Drive, which will also be renamed, and that, of course, is something that will happen with the community support. Very pleased to be here. I'm thrilled to be working with the City of Homestead, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them at this time.
Ms. Wallman?
Could you explain to us what Cambridge schools are?
Yes, absolutely. Cambridge is essentially a high-level academic program that is actually put forth by Cambridge University. And students who attend this program will also receive a diploma from Cambridge University, as well as also having a number of courses that will also be applied to their college education. So it is also a dual enrollment program.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Just to add one more piece to that, you all are familiar with the words the IB program, an IB program here, and the level of academic rigor that goes along with it. Cambridge, from University of Cambridge, as Marcus said, in England, came up with another program, one that competes head-on with the IB program, and to most people now in the education field, actually takes it a step further. The number of languages that are allowed to be part of this are expanded. The use of authentic measurement in a project at the end of the year for these seniors would encompass everything they've learned. And as he said, if you finish that, and we expect our kids to, not only do they get a diploma from Dade County Public Schools, they'll also get something from their dual enrollment university, and from Cambridge itself, they'll have an entree into a European college should they make that grade. It is a tremendous thing, and the piece about this that I think Homestead should be happy about is that nowhere else in this country are they training the instructors for the Cambridge program. They're going to be doing it here in Homestead, bringing down excellent and professors and teachers that are going to be out in the rest of the world, training and learning with our kids as they go mutually together. And I'm not sure if you're also looking at the K-8 piece folding in or not, but maybe you want to just take a quick moment and talk about the university type of K-12 or 14.
Thank you. If I may, actually we're very excited because, as you know, we have 2 K-8 programs within the City of Homestead that are Cambridge programs. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow a natural progression for our students basically to go from K through 12 and complete this program in their education right here within the City of Homestead. So we're extremely happy about that.
Again, thank you very much, Dr. Moran. I'd like to introduce Dr. Ortiz, Pablo Ortiz, who is the superintendent of the Education Transformation Office, and he will share with you the kind of exciting things that are happening for the schools in this area.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Council, and of course, citizens of Homestead. It is also indeed a pleasure to be with you here this afternoon. And also, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for the wonderful conversation that we had in speaking about our schools here in the South. And I want to just piggyback a little bit on what Dr. Feldman had mentioned, and of course my colleague, Dr. Moran, that we are really embarking on some very exciting projects and exciting transformations in the Homestead area. My role is particularly unique. I oversee the support of the schools that fall within the Education Transformation Office. And these are schools that over the past few years have been designated by the state of Florida as those that are focused in priority schools, schools that have had some difficulty with the results on the FCAT exams. And what the district does, it works very closely with outside organizations, with the state of Florida, the Department of Education, to ensure that the students in these schools are getting all of the support that they need, but most importantly, that the students are receiving the type of education that's going to prepare them for the future. The project at Campbell Drive Middle really speaks to the concentrated effort that we as a district are putting in the Homestead community. In particular, we are committed to offering the type of choices that the parents and families deserve in this community, to be able to choose from a menu of programs and opportunities in the South so that they can see what pathways are available for their children, either be that through a very high-end, high academic program like a Cambridge program that we're offering at Campbell Drive, through the programs that now we are ready to implement at Homestead Senior High School that I'm going to introduce the principal in just a moment with your permission. But I wanted to elaborate a little bit as well on the Cambridge conversion at Campbell Drive, because this also allows us to strengthen some of the surrounding schools that we have here in the South. The students at Campbell Drive and the students that would be going to Campbell Drive would now be attending Redland Middle School and Homestead Middle School. And these are middle schools that are on the rise, that are showing great promise, great programs. Homestead Middle School offers the International Baccalaureate program, which is the counterpart to Cambridge. It's, again, a high-rigor, high-end, high-academic program that's being offered to the students. That is a clear pathway to the advanced programs that are offered at both Homestead Senior High and South Dade Senior High. And Redland will inherit the STEAM Academy that is currently being offered at Campbell Drive Middle School. We'll offer it at Redland Middle School to also offer an enriching type of program. And the additional students will help us strengthen the agricultural program and magnet that we have at Redland Middle School. So we're very excited about this opportunity. In particular, I'm very, with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to take a moment to introduce a very special individual that I'm sure many of you know and has worked very hard in the last year. As you know, Homestead Senior High School, over the last several years, prior to, I would say, 3 years ago, had been designated by the state of Florida as one of the district's persistently lowest performing schools. And this is why it was a school that was targeted by our district, targeted by the State Department of Education, as a school that needed a transformation and a turnaround. Well, we jumped into Homestead Senior High School very aggressively to provide the type of programs, to provide the type of support that we felt was needed in order to turn that school around. Very proud to say, and I don't want to steal his thunder, that a school that was not too long ago labeled an F school now can boast being acknowledged by the state of Florida as a B school and a beacon in this community, as one that shows that with the right effort, with the right leadership, and with the right support, can do some fantastic things. But I want to leave with this point, that the challenges that we are facing, not only here in the South, but across the district, is not so much the transformational efforts that are taking place in these schools that serve very vulnerable students that come to us with very challenging backgrounds. And we understand that, and we accept that role and responsibility, and we very aggressively work to support them. But the greatest challenge that we have is fighting the stigma that unfortunately these schools face on a daily basis. Homestead Senior High School is an outstanding, high-achieving, high-rigor, high-academic program with a great graduation rate, with wonderful programs that you're going to hear about. But we are still obviously trying to turn that corner with the stigma. And we feel that with some of these changes and with some of the programs that we are implementing here in the Deep South, that we know that that stigma will change and will bring great pride to this community, and will hopefully have everybody embrace the great things that are taking place. So with your permission, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our principal at Homestead Senior High, who started with us there this year, took on the wonderful challenge, actually approached me and said, I would love to take on and continue the great work that's taking place at Homestead. And before I introduce Mr. Munoz, I also have to thank our school board member, Dr. Larry Feldman, longtime mentor, longtime friend, visionary, and probably the greatest advocate that I've ever met for children, for students, not only district-wide, in particular for the Homestead community, and I really thank him for all of the effort and support that he puts in. So without further ado, Mr. Mayor, the principal of Homestead Senior, Mr. Guillermo Munoz.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, and citizens of Homestead Senior High School, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to be here this afternoon to introduce myself to all of you. as the principal of Homestead Senior High School, a school with a great exciting program currently, and great things to come. Before I go on and provide you with some of the information that I'd like to provide you, I'd like to introduce members of my team. We're very proud of the work that we're doing at Homestead Senior High School. And it's not the work of one individual, it is a team effort. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Kenneth Williams, Vice Principal. Ms. Beverly Solomatov, Assistant Principal. Ms. Stacy Ann Frater, Assistant Principal. And Mr. Jeffrey Gonzalez, Assistant Principal. Upon my arrival at Homestead Senior High School, one of the challenges, as Dr. Ortiz stated before, is to change the perception and change the stigma of Homestead Senior High School. To that end, what we've implemented are some programs to reduce the number of suspensions of our students. I have the statistics in front of me. I'm not going to bore you with the specific numbers, but suffice it to say that outdoor suspension and overall suspensions at Homestead Senior High School are down a staggering 58% this school year. I think that is not only a tribute to the individuals who are standing behind me, the teachers back at the school, but also the students and the efforts that they're making to make sure that they improve the academic quality of their instruction within our school walls. I'd like to also take a moment to thank Chief Roll. I know he's not present today, but the police department of Homestead Senior High School, who we have a strong collaboration with. Many times, anytime I need to pick up the phone and call Chief Roll to provide some assistance or some support, because we may feel that we need some support for a dismissal or whatever the case might be, he's there. He's been providing that support very consistently, so we thank him for that. But moving forward, we want to take and stay away from the whole suspension of the all negative about Homestead Senior High School, moving to some of the positive things that are happening. And one of the great things that will be happening at Homestead Senior High School is the fact that we're going to build on some of the great current programs that we have at Homestead. The nursing program, for example, many of you know, we are the only school in the state of Florida who can actually grant LPN licenses to students in high school, licensed practitioners in nursing for the state of Florida. So what we've done is we partner with Miami-Dade College. We have to kind of keep up because, as you can see, now we have Campbell Drive that we also have to compete for that top-level student. And one of the things that we're going to be offering at Homestead Senior next year is the opportunity for our students to be able to earn, as they attend high school, be able to attend and attain an Associate of Arts degree in nursing and complete that program within their 4 years of high school. So that, coupled with the LPN, will allow them the opportunity to be able to apply and enroll in a Bachelor of Nursing program immediately after they finish high school. I think that is a great opportunity for many of the students who have expressed a desire to continue their education in nursing here at Homestead Senior. That is going to be a very unique program, one program that many students are going to be a part of or want to be a part of. In addition to that, one of the things that we've noticed is that our students, as you know, they're very technology driven. And many of our students these days, they live through technology. So we're going to take advantage of that opportunity and enhance upon the gaming and web development programs that we currently offer. And we're going to offer, in addition to that, with a partnership with Southgate Educational Center, we're going to offer cybersecurity programs so that they can go ahead and learn in that field. In addition to that, we're also going to go ahead and enhance in some of these programs so that if you can picture, for example, the fact that in the not-too-distant future, all of us are going to be able to control our homes via our cell phones. We're all going to be able to control the temperature, the TV, the lights, everything. You see the commercials already. In time, that's going to become standard. And what we want to do is we want to position ourselves so that we can create the workforce that will be able to fill those jobs in the future. In addition to that, we want to bring some new programs to Homestead Senior High School and take advantage of our geographical location. As you know, we have Turkey Point right down the street, so we're going to start an electricity program. Our hope is that we build a strong program that we can then look to FPNL so that we can look and build partnerships with FPNL where we can go ahead and provide our students with opportunities to fill some of those jobs that currently are going to people from outside of our state. We want to be able to fill that gap for FPNL. We're going to work very hard to make sure that we form that partnership and we work with them on that. In short, what we want to do is basically be able to provide programs for our Homestead Senior High School students that shortens the gap and makes them see the relevance of success in school and success in life. And as you know, many of our students measure success in terms of financial ability. And so what we want to do is provide the type of program that our students can see that through their education, they can go ahead and enter the line of work and be able to earn a very decent living with some of the programs that we want to bring forward. We hope to count with your support and the support of the council so that we can make these programs as robust as we possibly can. And once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, for the opportunity to come and speak before you. Also want to thank Dr. Feldman for the opportunity to bring us here, and of course, Dr. Ortiz for the continued support that we get from the ETO office. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Mayor and council, our goal is to make you proud. Our goal is to make every one of our students an economic engine, an engine that's working and thriving here in Homestead. As long as our students are economic engines, we won't have to worry about anything else. And so what I hope that we all start feeling is a sense of pride, a sense of determination, and a sense of understanding that this school district as a whole has recognized Homestead, the South Dade area, with 4 new K-8 centers. You have the Mandarin Lakes, you have Gateway, you have Campbell Drive K-8, you also have West Homestead K-8, you have a medical magnet program at the hospital where we put in $15 million to make that a medical magnet, where you have biomedical engineering, you have pharmaceutical engineering and physical therapy. You have a program, as we heard over here, at Homestead. And what you're getting, I hope, is a sense that, you know what, they haven't forgotten us. They've come back, and we are bringing to you, out of the 15,000 school districts in the United States, this school district, with all of its students and all of its diversity and all the fragility that we have with kids, is the #1 district in the United States where it has the most number of students taking the advanced placement exam in high school, earning a 345, which is college credits. So we have more students than anyone else that are participating, and more students than anyone else who's actually earning the high school credits, college credits while they're in high school. That's just one piece of what we're trying to do for Homestead. As you know, Mayor, at the end of this current school year, as we begin August, every one of your schools will be Wi-Fi. We will have a program where every one of your schools, every single classroom in every school in the Homestead South Dade area that is instructional, we will provide for them, not PTA, we will provide for them a smart board, one of those electronic interactive magic boards that move and all that stuff. We'll also be providing laptops, because if you can't stop or cross the digital divide, then we're not helping anyone. So we're going to stop the gap. We're going to provide the laptops for those children, or the equivalent for those children who don't have one. They're also going to get the opportunity at a low cost, which I think we're bearing, would be for internet service for that short period of time. So what you're seeing is that we're going to be here. We're going to be here for a long time. We're going to make you proud. Our students are all going to graduate. Our students will be economic engines. And with your help, every one of our schools, including South Dade Middle and others, will in fact be sources of pride for all of the people here in Homestead. Thank you. I know I took a little extra time, and I appreciate your patience. But, you know, like they said, we're trying to overcome a stigma that I believe this council also is looking forward to, and to the citizens here. So thank you. God bless you all, and thank you very much.
Ms. Faircloth has a question.
Yes. Well, just a comment,
A comment, excuse
if
me.
I may, through the mayor. I'd just like to thank School Board Member Dr. Larry Feldman and Dr. Pablo Ortiz for your vision for the Homestead community and the programs that you're pouring into our schools to propel and position our students to be competitive and college and career ready. I had a meeting with the Principal Munoz yesterday and Vice Principal Williams, and I left there very encouraged and confident that great things are going to emerge from Homestead Senior High. And as the liaison for the City of Homestead's Education Committee, I look forward to solidifying that partnership with the Homestead Senior High faculty and staff, and I am excited by the great things to come from that school. So thank you for your vision and your time and being here this evening.
Fair to say that she's also one of our best assistant principals right now. So,
Well, Dr. Feldman, I just want to say, you know, I was impressed with your presentation to me as the new mayor, and I just didn't think our community knew the amount of effort and the amount of traction that you and the superintendent, and you got to tell the superintendent how much we appreciate what resource is being shown on us, because remember, it was 30 years before we got the Gateway School.
Right.
We had a huge void there. So I wanted us to be able, I wanted our community to be able to hear it straight from your mouths as the educators in this community, what investments being done, because I was floored, and I'm the average guy in the community that doesn't know. So, as we go forward, like we said, can you just keep us updated, on things that are going on, major changes, so that our community can realize the public school system is working in Homestead and South Dade?
I would, Mayor, and I will tell you that he asked me to say that he is very excited with you sitting there and his ability now to be able to work with the city, and he's looking forward to working with you in a very very camaraderie relationship. So thank you.
Well, thanks very much for taking your time, all of you, for coming down and giving us an update. We really do appreciate it. Anything else, Council? Thank you so much, guys. Okay, at this time, I apologize to everyone, but I think that was two important bits of information that our community deserved to hear. We will open public comments at this time. If there's anyone that would like to address the council or put something on the record from the public, please step to the microphone and state your name, right where the gentleman just was. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Melody Thorpe Spiegel. I'm a resident of Homestead, 1830 Northwest 6th Avenue, Homestead. On a lighter note, this is a wonderful opportunity to address the mayor and vice mayor, city councilmen and women, and the public. I was raised here in Homestead. My father brought us back after the war. We came out of occupied Japan to Homestead. He had been a resident here since 1926. I started writing memoirs of how it was in 1950. And one of the most memorable characters of my childhood was Old Sam Roll. We lived 8 blocks over here, I think I'm pointing the right direction, on 6th Avenue, Roberts Road, and 19th Street. In the back of this small storybook is a picture of Northwest 6th Avenue and 19th Street back to the railroad. There's nothing there. It was farm fields and railroad tracks, pine forest. Anyway, Old Sam, this is dedicated for the centennial. I published it last year. I didn't make it here to present it to the council, but it is dedicated to Sam, a hardworking farmer, well-known friend of Homestead, Florida community. He was a figure from my childhood, and I dedicate this to him, and the loving memories that I write about are to honor him. There is, it's a very short vignette. To make it publishable, I had to stretch it. So the first half is more a colorful depiction of Homestead in 1950 as a 5-, 6-year-old would see it. It's mostly farm fields, groves, and packing houses. But anyway, the last half of the book is about Sam and the lonely little girl who lived out here on 6th Avenue with no friends. He farmed my dad's property and another 40 or 50 acres. He paid my dad $10 a month for the lease. There was no contract. There was a handshake. And we could eat all the collard greens and okra and tomatoes that he grew. So he was my friend, and he would bring his granddaughter out to play with me. And over the years, he kind of disappeared from the scene. I wrote this in 2006, not knowing I would return to Homestead after the passing of my mother and inherit the house right over there where I can live. I want to present it to the council. I hope you enjoy it. It's written as a 5-year-old would write it. It is written for adults to read to children. It isn't a 1st grade book or a 3rd grade book. There is a sketch in here of how Sam and I probably really looked. I did the illustrations, and I have 5 other books up on Amazon and Kindle about Sweetwater, Miami, on the Tamiami Trail, and other books, including Glitter, where my mother saved my goldfish from the drain. So in each one, I try to put a historical picture of the area and include some color of Homestead in the 1950s, 1949, 1950. And I thank you very much for your time. And I have one of these for everyone on the council if you'd like me to hand them to you and pass them around.
If you would just give them to the clerk and we'll get them from her. Thank you so much.
Oh, I would like to say that my dad came here in 1926 with his mother and father. They made it in time for the 1926 hurricane, and my grandfather wrote about down Chrome Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Weinstein?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Terry Weinstein, Miami, Florida, giving my last presentation before the Mayor and Council and citizens of Homestead before our big Relay for Life event on May 10th. Just wanted to give some quick updates and let you know what's been happening. We had a great fundraiser at Dairy Queen. We had the Miami Heat dancers come out. They didn't charge us for their appearance. We had a huge community gathering. It was a really fun event. Team City of Homestead held their jail and bail, and in one day they raised over $10,000. The outpouring of generosity from the community, the business, owners was just amazing. And this event was put together, and it was under the leadership of Councilwoman Waldman, Michael Hitt, Jackie Pinkerton, Heather, her assistant, and the City of Homestead Police. So it was just an amazing event. I was humbled by, the outpouring of support, and everyone was so happy and thrilled to be arrested and having people post bail that day. So that's an event that I don't know how anyone will top that one. And Councilwoman Waldman, I'm sure, will speak about an upcoming event that Team City of Homestead will be having on May 3rd, the Highway Holdup or Road Drive. So she'll give you some more information on that. We held a T-shirt design contest. It was open to all students in Homestead and Florida City. We received 111 entries, and the team of judges selected a winner. It was Brianna Powell, 10th grader at Somerset Soho. So Brianna's artwork will be displayed on a T-shirt exclusive to the Homestead Relay. I'll hold up her design. You may not be able to see it, but you can order a T-shirt and you'll have it on the T-shirt. T-shirts are being sold. I have order forms on the side table. 100% of all the proceeds from the T-shirt sales will go to the Relay, thanks to an anonymous donor in City of Homestead who's paying for the design, the setup, and all of the T-shirt costs. So we have a potential of raising a nice amount of money. We're ordering 200 T-shirts. So if we sell them all, we can raise about $2,000. So we're very excited about that. Chance drawing, we're still selling raffle tickets. We have over $9,200 in prizes available. We're still selling tickets, and we will be on the day of the Relay. I want to thank South Dade News Leader. I don't know if Dale or Mike are here, but they covered the jail and bail fundraiser. They're running a story this Friday on the T-shirt design contest, and they're going to be running 2 ads for the Relay. We finally have our poster event finalized, and they'll be running 2 ads for us 2 weeks in a row at no cost to the Relay, so we thank them for their generosity. And just a quick reminder that the event is on Saturday, May 10th at Homestead Hospital. Thank you to Bill Duquette, who I don't know if he's here, and to Homestead Hospital for hosting it. there again. Opening ceremony is at 1 p.m. The survivor ceremony is at 1:30. Pastor Chauncey Brown, pastor of Greater Church, will be giving the invocation, and his children's choir will be performing during the survivor ceremony. We have a lot of great events and a lot of surprises planned for that day, so we hope everyone comes out. And something exciting, we had been trying to get Florida City to participate in the event, and we heard from Mayor Wallace. They're going to be putting a team together from the city of Florida City, so we're very excited about that. So I thank you all for your support. I mean, we've raised about $35,000. We set a goal of $50,000, and I think we will surpass that goal. And, you know, I tell everybody Homestead is like the little engine that could. And I want to just tell you one thing. I have a friend of mine was the chair for the Pinecrest Relay, and they raised about $200,000. East Kendall raised $250,000. But in speaking with ACS, they said that the City of Homestead's relay, we are one of the few relays that have spent zero. We haven't spent any money for anything because of the generosity of the business owners and the community. Everything that we've done, everything has been donated. The banners that we'll have out on US 1 are being donated. The T-shirts are being donated. We're going to have a kid zone, and we've got the bounce houses donated. So, you know, and that's because of the community effort and, you know, the support. And Homestead is just a unique place, and I'm really happy to be a part of this. So I hope to see you all there on May 10th. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kocharzik. I'm here from Miami, Florida. I'm here as a representative of something called the Awesome Foundation, Miami chapter, which is a group of people who get together and give out micro grants monthly. We've been doing that for a little bit over a year. We give a $1,000 grant a month, and we've given 15 and counting. And we are now working to expand our reach throughout greater Miami-Dade County. So that's why I'm here to let everybody know about this. What you do is you can apply online. We have a 4 easy question application. It's in English, Spanish, and Creole. And you can apply monthly if you don't get a grant that month. We have additional funds, so we've been giving out smaller added grants periodically, so there's additional opportunity, and absolutely anybody can apply. This is something that started in Boston in 2009, where people saw a funding gap for small grants. So people who have a great idea and they just need a little bit of money to get it off the ground and make it happen. They started this chapter in Boston, and there are now chapters around the world. So I have postcards with information. You can Google Awesome Foundation Miami. It'll pull up our website. We're also on Facebook. Anybody, absolutely anybody can apply. And so we really would love to hear from people in Homestead about projects down here that need funding, anybody in your community. We are anxious to continue to spread the word about this opportunity. So I have some postcards that contain all the contact information, how to learn more, and I'm in touch with your public information officer also, so that I can supply some other digital information on social media that we can roll out to you. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I will leave additional information here for people to explore. Thank you.
If you would leave it with the clerk so the council members can have access to it. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Stacy Morales. I live right here in Homestead, and I'm part of an organization called Greater Miami Youth for Christ. I'm the director of a ministry here in Homestead called KICS, stands for Kids in Christ. And I brought a friend of mine, one of our staff, that is going to really talk here in a second. But I wanted to publicly thank the mayor and the vice mayor and the council people for your support. Back in December, we were, Youth for Christ was in a position to purchase a building here in Homestead on Maury Drive. We're in the southwest area working with children and youth from 5 years old all the way up to high schoolers every single day after school. We reach probably about 100, 150 kids every single year, and you all supported our, we needed some zoning special exceptions, and you guys supported that decision, so I wanted to publicly thank you for doing that. We will be moving into our building in June. We're very excited because it's right by Roby George Park, and we're just going to be able to reach lots and lots of kids and help them with their homework and just help them to find out the plan that God has for their life and really just give them a purpose and just a really safe, loving place to be, and that's what we do. So thank you. Godwin, I'm going to introduce to you, is someone I met when he was 8 at West Homestead Elementary School. I was teaching there, and he has grown up a little bit since then, and he's on staff with us now. He's grown up in this neighborhood, and he's doing something really exciting, and he needs your support, and that's why he's here.
Good evening, everyone. Through Kicks, we were able to have the opportunity to start a flag football league. We started 3 years ago, and I would like to thank the council and the mayors for assisting us when we first began. Well, now we're trying to expand. This will be our 4th complete season, and we want to help out the community. And the way we do that is we get kids from Homestead and Florida City to come into our program. And like I said, it's a flag football program. It cost us $11,000 to run it per year. That covers salaries for myself and another part-time staff member, equipment, and everything that we need for the program. And so we're coming here today to see if the council members or the mayor would like to assist us in raising those funds. So we have information here that I would like to leave with you guys that will explain it a little bit better. So, thank you.
That'd be great if you would, because we get a lot of requests for support, and we work with our staff as well to kind of analyze, and we don't have unlimited resources either. So, has anybody got questions? If you would just leave it with the clerk then, and then we'll get them from our staff. Okay.
If there's anybody in the community that would want to support, we have a website, MiamiYFC.com. They could go and check it out. We're just getting kids off the streets in the Southwest area, giving them a great place to be to spend their summer and during the school year and all sorts of things. So we thank you for your support.
Well, great. This plays over and over again all month long, so hopefully other people will see it and want to participate as well. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Hernandez, and I'm from Homestead. I'm here to talk about raising funds for our end-of-the-year picnic for South Dade Middle School. I'm an 8th grader, and I'm the president of the Student Council League. And you may know us from toy drives that we do for kids with special needs, food drives for the community, and we also participated in the Martin Luther King parade. On May 23rd, 2014, we are having a picnic at our school to celebrate our promotion to high school. We decided on a picnic this year instead of a formal dance because of the economic challenges. And a picnic seemed like the best way to involve as many of our deserving 8th graders as possible. For many 8th graders, this is a bittersweet time because we have been South Dade Middle Panthers for the past 5 years. When we started, we were barely 4 feet in height. Now we are taller than some of our teachers. We look forward to the adventures high school has in store for us, but we will miss our South Dade Middle family. This picnic is one of our last opportunities to spend time with each other before we disperse to different high schools. Our amazing teachers and administrators have planned several fun activities for us on this day, including dunk tank, a water slide, water balloon toss. In addition, there will be cotton candy, popcorn, snow cone machines, and a barbecue grill. And all of the picnic fixings. We need your help to make this a memorable day for our 8th grade class. A donation will help our school acquire the necessary items for this event. Thank you for listening and for your generous donations. Without sponsors like you, this event would not be possible. If you have any questions, I would love to answer as many as I possibly can.
Any questions? Do you have any information that you can drop off with our clerk so that if we have an opportunity to send some resource to you, we'll know how to do that?
Currently, right now, we don't have it, but we can give you guys, we can have it by tomorrow.
Okay. We'll Do you have something you can give them, Patty, so they'll know where to send the information, and you can get it to all of the assistants, the council assistants? Maybe we can drum up some help for you.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Well, Mr. Dan?
Well, good evening, Mayor, Council. Dan Carter, 1702 Northwest 5th Avenue in Homestead. I just wanted to step before you this evening. I didn't plan on doing this, but back in February I was here and mentioned to you that Homestead Kiwanis for our scholarship committee was having a fundraiser, and we had a concert where we hosted the Whiffenpoofs from Yale University. And I just wanted to say thank you to those of you that did support the event and attended it. I know Judy did attend it, and it was extremely good event. I'm sure everybody that was there enjoyed the music. And the bottom line, very quickly, through that concert, we had over 500 people in attendance, and we raised $10,000 for scholarships. We have just closed out our scholarship period as far as accepting applications. They're being reviewed now, and within a couple weeks we'll know exactly how many scholarships we've awarded. But we just thank the city and the council members, the mayor, for all of your support for the activities we do, and especially regarding the scholarships. Very important to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We really appreciate you guys putting on such a wonderful prayer breakfast the other morning, too. That's a phenomenal yearly event. So,
well, that's the three things now. We have three major events. We have the prayer breakfast, which is a gift to the community. That's not a fundraiser of any kind. We just break even on that. And if there are a few dollars left over, it goes to a very worthy cause within the community that's related to charity. Last year, we gave several $1,000s to the First United Methodist food pantry, not soup pantry, but and so the other things we do is we want to have a dedicated fundraiser for scholarships. This year we're going to have something in October, reverse raffle. This will be our second one, and last year we raised $30,000 at that event, and it was very exciting, held right here. And the other thing we do every year is our Dolphin Days Fishing Tournament, which is our general purpose fundraiser to support many causes throughout the community. So again, we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the update. Okay, I don't see anyone else for public comment, so we'll close the public comments at this time. Any additions, deletions, deferrals?
No, sir. We have one addition which needs to be added to the agenda.
Is there a motion to add item 1 to the agenda? Addendum 1, I mean.
I'll move it.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Staff report on the addendum?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We have the pleasure of announcing that we've received a matching grant from the Department of Environmental Protection Recreation Trails Program. They have awarded the city $153,700 in a dollar-for-dollar match, for which we intend to create a walking and jogging trail at the wonderful Mayor Roscoe Warren Municipal Park.
It's a $153,000 match. That's out of the impact fees, I read?
Yes, sir. That would be, if we use the entire amount, the budget would be for $307,400. Our portion would be coming from park impact fees.
Thank you. Ms. Waldman?
I just want to say I'm very happy and pleased, Pedro might even want to add to this, that we have this opportunity because we have a wonderful trail at Roscoe Warren Park. But now that trail would connect to a trail that would go all the way around the soccer fields, so that you know what we're talking about here. It would actually, it would be phenomenal.
Okay.
I hope we get it done tonight.
Okay, this is a
Mr. Mayor, if I could read the resolution.
Okay.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute and enter into the attached recreational trails Program Fiscal Year 2014 Project Agreement between the City of Homestead and the State Department of Environmental Protection concerning recreational trail project at Mayor Roscoe Warren Municipal Park, providing budget for grant funds received under the agreement, providing for implementation for an effective date.
This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak for or against this, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there moved and seconded? Any final comments from council? All in favor? Oh, excuse me. Roll call, pardon me.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Consent agenda tab 1.
Actually, you can do the whole consent agenda
That's
at
right.
once, Mr. Mayor.
That's right. Item 5, tab 1 through 8. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
Move it, Mayor.
Is there a second? Any comments or questions on the consent agenda? One item was pulled because we funded it. The council paid for the trolley system for the Air Force, military.
Yes, that's correct, Mayor. You generously stepped forward as a group and offered your support for that, and we're pleased that we'll be able to provide that service.
Thank you, sir. All in favor? Motion carries. Public hearings, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. Full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record, and persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any of the items on the agenda.
Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I had, on tab 12, I had conversations with 2 business owners here in the city of Homestead.
Myself as well.
The mayor.
That's Ms. Fairclough.
Yes, I had a conversation with the business owners regarding tab 12.
Everyone has.
Right. That's a legislative matter, not a quasi, but thank you.
Anyway.
At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify in any of the following quasi-judicial items.
Please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
Tab 9.
Yes, tab 9 is a final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use to allow the sale of beer and wine for on-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of a restaurant located at 2572 Northeast 10th Court as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Staff, Mr. Manager or Joe, anyone?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and council approve the attached final order granting the certificate of use. The applicant is requesting a certificate of use so that they may do on-premises sale and consumption of beer and wine in conjunction with the operation of a dine-in, takeout, delivery restaurant named Jersey Boardwalk Pizza in the Homestead Pavilion Shopping Center. The request is consistent with the requirements of our code in Section 3-11. We recommend approval, and the Planning and Zoning Board had approved this 4-0 in their most recent meeting.
Okay, any questions from council? None? This is a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Does anyone want to hear from the applicant? Does the applicant want to speak? Okay. Anyone like to speak for or against this? This is a public hearing. Sell beer and wine, the Kohl's, Homestead Plaza, Homestead Shopping, what is it? Kohl's, where it is.
Pavilion.
Kohl's Pavilion.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Warren.
I was just going to say, I believe Shakey's Pizza had the same license, so it's
Consistent.
consistent with the use and...
It is a public hearing, though. Would anyone like to speak, again, for or against this? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any final comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 10.
Yes, tab 10 is the final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use to allow the sale of beer and wine for on-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of a restaurant located at 886 North Chrome Avenue as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
And report from staff, Joe?
Yes, sir. We again recommend that the mayor and council approve this final order granting the certificate of use for the on-premise sale and consumption of beer and wine in conjunction with the operation of an existing dine-in restaurant located at 886 North Chrome Avenue. Again, this fits all the criteria that we review it through the code, section 3-11C, and we've gone through the planning and zoning board, and they've recommended unanimous approval of this.
Questions from council? One question, Joe.
Yes, sir.
They applied once before, many years ago, and they were denied. I don't think it was maybe the same applicant. There was a good bit of problem over there. All that's kind of settled out. I mean, there was a lot of loitering, littering. So evidently, no one complained from that shopping center?
Yes, sir. We didn't have any complaints, and we found, I think we reviewed this with the police, and we found that this was consistent with our code, no adverse impacts.
Okay. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak? Sell of beer and wine, Chrome Avenue. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any final questions from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 11.
Yes, moving on to tab 11. Tab 11 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, considering a request for a fence variance from section 30-396.62 Southwest Planned Urban Neighborhood Industrial Subarea Fences of the City Code of Ordinances for R&R Prop Acquisitions, Inc., located at 186 Southwest 1st Street, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Joe, reports, please.
Yes, sir. We're recommending denial of this variance. What's happening here is the applicant's requesting a variance to the code in the southwest neighborhood where to put a chain link fence where one is not currently permitted. The fences in this district are supposed to be either concrete, wood, or iron pickets. What the applicant is wanting to do is to keep the chain link fence up. They are attempting to operate a business which is really a propane distribution service. So they have a big propane tank. They'll store their trucks. They'll store smaller tanks. They'll fill the trucks with gas and go out and distribute it. We're taking this action as a corrective action for an issue that happened in the past. What happened, I think it was in 2012, was we had a zoning denial of the chain link fence because it's not permitted in the southwest neighborhood. The building department subsequently allowed the chain link fence. When we saw the application come through, we saw the denial, and we figured the way to remedy this is through the variance. So that's our report. We'll answer any questions.
Questions from council? Any questions? Okay, let me ask, you say there was a permit pulled, right?
There was a permit pulled, but the permit was for a fence that's not allowed in the neighborhood. It had gone through staff, the planning and zoning had denied it, and then building department had erroneously approved it, so it was a mistake in the process. So we allowed them, and what we've done through this, since we realized that we're asking the applicant to do something that they already constructed, that the city essentially allowed, we've taken up the cost of this application on behalf of the city because this was a mistake that we allowed.
What's that? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We've got Councilman Williams is on the phone. So we made the mistake.
Yes, sir.
As a city, we issued the permit to put the fence up as a chain link fence.
Correct.
And is that because of different overlays? Because I know there.
I'm not quite so sure why the issue happened. We find these things periodically when we look back at different things, so I'm not quite sure why it happened. There were no notes in the file. Typically, when we do something like this, we'll write a note in the file. There have been times where we'll take an area on a vacant piece of land and allow a temporary chain link fence and then put a note in the file that says when you go to develop it, you will construct the appropriate fence. There were no notes in this file, so as we've done in the past, the best way we can remedy this is to go through a process like a variance to make it right, so that we all understand in the future.
So you're asking for a denial?
I'm recommending denial because of the chain link fence is not permitted in the area. The Southwest neighborhood is very clear that they allow 3 types of fences: masonry, wood, or iron pickets covered with landscaping.
Okay, so it gets denied, what happens?
If it gets denied, they need to tear out the fence and put up the appropriate fencing.
After we issued a permit?
After we issued the permit.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my biggest concern on this particular case is that I don't know that I would support, and generally speaking, a straight variance from this code. But in this particular case, what concerns me is the fact that there was action of the city that the landowner or the applicant has now relied upon and spent money and put up a fence. And now we're going to tell him that, yes, it was our fault, our mistake, but we want him to spend money to now, to rectify that. So I have a little concern there. I mean, so in this particular case, I think I could be swayed, and I could go and say, look, I don't think that's fair. Although the concern I do have, I guess, and that is making sure that it will still be landscaped, because I guess there's not much different between this chain link fence that's currently been put up and, say, the iron picket fence. I mean, they're both see-through. They don't block noise. They don't block sight. The key is that picket fence would have to be covered by landscaping. And so if sufficient landscaping was planted for the chain link fence, then I don't see where we'd get a different result, for this particular case. And so it'd be for me, it'd be a specific decision based on the fact that he relied on, or the landowner relied on, city action.
Yes, sir. These are relative. This is a unique case. We don't come across this very often. And it's debatable when you look at the code to say that an iron picket fence is a see-through fence. And you're going to cover, it's more decorative than, say, a chain link, but you're going to cover the iron pickets anyway with landscaping. So really the difference, I think, when you've covered it with landscaping is negligible, and that would be an excellent solution to this problem.
And so, and the landscaping has to be planted of sufficient size so that we don't have to wait 10 years for it to actually cover this fence. You're talking within a season or two, we should not know that what type of fence is behind the landscaping. Is that correct?
There is a height requirement for the installation of landscaping. I believe it's 36 inches. So within a season or so, it should, depending on the vegetation that's planted, should grow. We would request that it be irrigated so that it actually does grow, and we shouldn't be able to see the fence after that.
And the activities that are being proposed on the property, are they such that it would be better to have a masonry wall or some sort of blockage of auditory or something more significant?
Don't anticipate this use being all that loud. It's a propane tank and a truck.
Okay, and then the last question, if I may, Mayor, and that is the use. The reason this got caught was because the change of the use. There was an occupational license or something that came through. Is that what triggered this?
What's happened is the applicant really came into the system in backwards and tried to get a business license, but we didn't have a site plan, and then we saw we didn't have planning and zoning approval either. So when we found this thing out, it was just had come in at the wrong end of the spectrum, and we sorted through it and found out that we need to start at the beginning, and we started taking these actions. We're subsequently reviewing an administrative site plan. which we'll be able to dispense with shortly after this is
Okay,
done.
because my last concern, I guess, would be that if we grant this variance for this particular use, and they change the use, they do something that's more intensive that may be allowed on that property, that we should have had a more intensive fencing surrounding it, how do we then go back and require that without, is that a possibility? Can we limit that to this use in our, because that's my only concern, is this an industrial area? So let's say that they turn into a recycling center or something else that's more intensive, and all we have is this chain link fence and some shrubs. That's really my last concern. If we can address that, then I think I'll be okay.
I'm gonna ask the attorney if we can condition that with run it with the use.
We can if that's the desire of the council, we can certainly limit the scope of this variance consistent with the petroleum distribution use on the property. And so any change in use would trigger conformance with the code requirements for the other types of fences.
Ms. Waldman, you have a question?
I don't know if I have so much a question as just a concern, and I just want to make sure that Mr. DiBenedetto is treated fairly, and I think that's probably what all of us are concerned about tonight. And I know you're doing your job, excuse me, you're doing your job, Job, to follow the rules and the guidelines, but sometimes we have to think outside that box too, because when somebody is told, that was before you came, Joe, I think a long time ago, when somebody was told that you can do the fence, then, you know, it just bothers me. It bothers me to think that somebody would have to go and at their expense change it. I understand that it's because of who you've rented to, correct? Who you've rented the facility to and the needs that they have.
I think yes, the owners rented it to the well, actually any use that goes there needs a fence around it, and so, or needs a really what the code says, which is a wall, a masonry wall, wooden or iron pickets, and this is not that. So.
But when he put the fence in, the city allowed him to do it.
Yes, the city did allow him to do that.
So I just think that, you know, we are a compassionate board, and we know when it's just, I mean, mistakes happen. The mistakes happen, but no one should be punished because of it. So I guess right now that's how I stand.
Is that all? Let me ask you a question, Joe, because let's go back to the where does it not make sense? It's an industrial area, heavy uses are allowed, then there's an overlay, which is a Southwest Master Plan, correct?
Correct.
In that Southwest Master Plan, certain types of fencing are the only types that are allowed.
Correct.
Chain link is allowed in industrial areas.
Not specifically, but what the other industrial areas of the code say is they specify that in industrial areas, all storage yards and operations need to be enclosed by a masonry wall. But the industrial sections of the code give an out in the sense that they allow alternative screening. It doesn't specifically say chain link fence, but it talks about things like metal sheathed in plastic, and that's where we've been able to interpret with more flexibility than the Southwest Code, because the applicant then is able to prove that, hey, my use isn't a very loud use, and it isn't a very ugly use, and therefore, while it's still in the industrial area, it may not need the coverage with the wall. And so we've been able to provide some flexibility in the other areas of the code for people who are cutting rebar, who have existing chain link fences, and able to do that. But it doesn't specifically say a chain link fence is allowed. But it does give us a lot of flexibility to use our discretion in the other areas. This area of the code doesn't provide that flexibility.
So an open metal fence, not chain link fence, is an acceptable product in the Southwest master plan?
In the Southwest Master Plan, it would permit a metal iron pickets in conjunction with landscaping. So the answer is yes, it would, because you can see through an iron picket fence. You just cover it with landscaping, and then it's an acceptable fence.
I guess where I'm going with this is the whole, we're driving the cost of things up going into industrial areas, and then we're asking to cover it with landscaping. And I'm just, I can understand certain circumstances where you want a block wall, because as the Vice Mayor said, noise but if you're required to have an open fence and there's just a question of chain link, it just gets to be a little problematic for me, because I just can't understand having to go to the extreme expense of putting up a metal picket, concrete columns, the whole 9 yards, just to have to put landscaping over the front of it, when in essence you can really accomplish the same thing with a less expensive fence that's going to be hidden by landscaping anyway. So
yes, sir. The Southwest Neighborhood Code and Master Plan has been very cumbersome since I arrived and started to interpret it. And I don't believe we've ever denied. It's very restrictive, and what I think it does is it looks to change the aesthetic of the neighborhood through attrition. So what happens is there's a lot of uses that weren't permitted, and and building placement that needs to become new, and fencing that they're looking to replace, many times for aesthetic value. And so when a use goes out and then it comes back, it's supposed to be rebuilt or refenced in a different way. And we've had a hard time, and I would imagine mainly because of the economy in recent years, requiring those types of things. And so the recommendation a little while back, I think it was after the 7-Eleven process, was let's just go back to the old code, because we don't seem to be enforcing this when we don't have the appetite to do it. I still recommend that's probably the best thing to do, because that is more, the industrial section for this is more flexible. And you're right, it's almost counterintuitive that we're going to put up a more expensive iron picket fence covered with landscaping in an industrial section of town. Maybe more appropriate for a residential section of town or something like that, but that is what we're working with at this point.
Well, and I guess, kind of, this is the legislative body that, that will ultimately address that.
Right.
And, in the scheme of things, we've got a lot of industrial areas that should be moving forward, and I want to make sure that whatever we're doing legislatively isn't stopping process, or like you and I talked about, we don't need to be throwing up hurdles in front of people to bring in jobs and businesses. We need to be making people conform and making, accepting, good products, but not stopping anyone from even looking in our direction. And if this may be one piece of a puzzle, but when we did the Southwest Master Plan, we took too big of a bite, and we created a big legislative scenario where we created unintended consequences through that process. And I remember Blaylock Oil was the first one, because they wanted to do a little bit of an expansion, and because we had done the Southwest Master Plan, they were now a non-conforming use, not in the Southwest Master Plan, but in the building department or in the planning department. So, as we go forward, bring some stuff to us that gives us the ability to debate strengths and weaknesses of looking at code changes. It's a living, breathing document, and it needs to reflect the sign of the times, so to speak. And you and I have had this conversation, and this, if it's in our way, let's talk about it. Let's put it out on the table and talk about it. So, I don't know if anybody else has any comments. Now, yes.
I mean,
Vice Mayor.
Sure. I mean, as far as a general, using this particular time, I guess, to talk about general code, I think we should reevaluate the Southwest Master Plan. I really do think we should look at it and see. I don't know if we should throw it all out. I don't know. I'm not quite ready to say, hey, let's just go back to the old code. I think there's some good stuff in there, but I think there's also a lot of stuff that's too burdensome, and people will go to other parts of our city that have less burdensome code than they would to the Southwest, which is completely the opposite of what I think they were trying to accomplish. So anyways, I agree with that. I think we should look at that in some proper form and some proper venue. For this, I'll restate kind of my position, and that is I agree with granting this variance, but I want to do so in such a way that it does give us protections that if the use changes, we can make sure that we properly protect the area, the surrounding businesses. So it would be whatever variance, recommendation language you would have would be what, I guess, a motion that I would make. So I'd move to approve the variance based on the reasoning that I gave, but also with a restriction or condition that it be limited to this particular use or type of use.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second to the amendment that you're making an amendment to this variance?
Did we already move this one? I don't think
No.
we moved it yet.
No. So that's what your intent, or so what you're doing now is you're making a motion with the amendment, or
Well, if we haven't made a motion, it's the original motion. If we've made a motion, then yes, it's an amendment to the motion.
Did we make a motion? Okay. Do you want to make a motion, or may open the public hearing and get any response from the?
Either or. Motion will be the same.
Make the motion, and let's see if we get a second.
Okay.
Is there a second to Steve's motion, the Vice Mayor? Restate it, please, sir.
The motion is to, the motion is to approve the variance, and help me make sure I'm saying what I think I say. Is to approve the variance, but it's conditioned on the fact that it's not open-ended, meaning that if they put another intensive use in there, that it would trigger them to possibly have to put up a masonry wall to make sure that it protects the surrounding business owners and landowners. But in this case, we can do it restricted to this particular use, correct, or type of use.
Right. The motion just provides for a condition that this variance to allow the chain link fence is tied to, and only for the petroleum distribution facility use that's currently on the property. In other words, if there was a subsequent use or a change in use that would occur, then the code would apply, and the applicant would potentially need to comply with some other type of fencing that's in the Southwest Neighborhood Master Plan.
Motion's made. Is there a second to put it on the floor for discussion? Then I'm going to open it up to the public. Okay, it's seconded for discussion. I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone would like to speak? The applicant is in the room. Mr. Benedetto, if you want to step up. And anyone else that would like to speak for or against this variance? Go ahead, Ms. Wallman.
Before you speak, Mr. Benedetto, I have a question. So basically, we're saying that we would allow Mr. Benedetto to stay with the fencing that he has now as long as he never leases to anyone else. Is that correct?
Well, I understand it so as...
With a change purpose.
Yeah, as long as he continues to lease it to somebody who's distributing the liquid gas, then the chain link fence can say it may not be this business owner. But if use changes to somebody who's doing, say, a recycling facility, then we'll require him to conform to the
See, the
fence
problem I have is that he has no guarantee that he's going to be able to lease this to this particular business for any significant amount of time. And because it was a mistake from the city in the first place, and I just feel that he should be grandfathered in with maybe some plants and shrubs to go along the perimeter. But so that's my issue with the motion because I don't know. Do you have a lease with this person?
But Ms. Wallman, let me hold on, Richard, 1 second. Can the Vice Mayor clarify? He wanted to clarify something, I think.
Yeah, because I don't think my intention is to limit it to that. I don't want to be that specific in my restriction. I don't want to say it only can be petroleum because there's a whole bunch of other uses that are also low-intensive uses that would be perfectly fine with a chain link fence. So I don't want it to be where we put the burden on him to say, hey, the next guy comes in with actually a less intensive use than the petroleum tanks, but he's now having to come back before us for another variance at his cost. So I know it makes things more complicated, but I have the same concern. That wasn't my intention when I made that. My intent was to make sure that a more intensive use would not be allowed to occur with that type of fencing. So however we need to word that restriction, whether we need to list them all, whether we can do it generally speaking and have the administration determine that.
I would suggest that we change the wording of that instead of just specifying the use. Say that the variance is tied to a use...
Similar uses or less
Similar use
intensive.
or less intensive.
Yeah, those I'm okay with. And then if it goes higher, where we would want to
Right.
make sure we protect the landowners, because my intention was not to have only one use
Okay,
allowed.
and so for instance, if somebody comes in with a similar use, we deem that as intensive or that, we'll keep it as
Yes.
it is. Somebody comes in, and the code talks about, we do talk about junkyards and those types of things where we really do want walls around them because of a lot of factors. And so if a more intense use like that comes in, that would trigger, you know, us coming back and saying, you really need the wall, and for
Right.
that reason, so.
Yes.
I think, is that
Ms. Wellman, you clear, are you good with that? Okay, Mr. Benedetto, you're up, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and City Council. I appreciate you putting out the effort to resolve this matter. My name is Richard DiBenedetto. I live at 17890 Southwest 264th Street, Homestead, Florida, and I do own approximately 13 pieces of industrial and commercial properties in Homestead. This is not my first time in front of the board on this particular piece of property. I came in front of the board on multiple times. I tried to put Velda Farms, a distribution center. Took City of Homestead 28 months before they granted it. Velda Farms walked. With that being said, not a novice. I understand what the City of Homestead wants and what they require. I went and met with Kathy Milford. I met with a couple people in Homestead with the city. I wanted to use this lot for a storage lot, whether I park tractor trailers or trucks or something along this line, and they all said, no problem. I went down to the city. I hired a licensed contractor. He pulled a permit. The fence was installed at about a $17,000 cost. It was inspected. It was passed. And now all of a sudden, I'm like in a situation where perhaps I'm being punished for doing everything, dotting my I's, crossing my T's, and knowing what I have to do, and doing it and executing it. And now I'm left with a situation that we want to put all kinds of restrictions on me. Now, if you want me to put plants around, I got no problem. I don't want to spend $20,000 on putting an irrigation system in, which Joe made a comment about, well, we have to irrigate it and we have to do everything for the plants. We're coming into the rainy season. Plants will grow just fine. I'll put plants that survive in our environment that will grow well. I don't have a problem with doing that. I did put a shade cloth around the fence, so it is actually covered more than if I had a picket fence. And I think it's just splitting hairs, and I'm not trying to be facetious. It's just the chain link fence has a shade cloth. You want me to put plants? I'm not trying to play hard nose. I'm willing to go along with things. I understand things happen, and basically, I don't want a lot of stipulations. If I build something on the property and I spend $1 million on putting warehouses, you better believe I'm going to put a different fence. I'm not going to have a fence up there that chain linked and put $1 million building. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to if I'm going to spend $1 million, I'm going to do it right. But as far as what we're using it for the storage for the gas company, and he's really only using half of the lot, and I'd like to have the ability that I can have a couple companies that have approached me to park some tractor trailers there overnight, that I would be able to do that. And with that being said, I hope I've answered questions, and if there's any, please direct them to me, because I would more than gladly answer anything if I haven't.
Okay, they're doing a little powwow over there. One of the things, what is being proposed by the Vice Mayor is anything heavier than what is currently there would require another look. That's what I heard.
Is that where if I can park some tractor trailers or some kind of vehicles, use it for, not a junkyard. And also you got to understand, I am next to a junkyard that if you go on Southwest 2nd Street between business hours of 8 to 5, that road is usually blocked. You can't even drive on it because all their trucks are in the middle of the road, and you go out there right now, and they operate their business outside of their boundaries, where you're talking about enclosing a junkyard. All their trucks, they park on the road every day, every night. During the day, they park them in the road,
Right.
and they park their vehicles in the road, because I know I always have to go First Street because I can't make it up Second Street because the road is blocked. So it's not like we're talking about putting in this next to the movie theater or next to City Hall. We're talking about a chain link fence next to a junkyard that has trucks parked all over the place, garbage all over the place, constantly.
Okay, Joe, the question was if Mr. Di Benedetto wants to move or temporarily store trucks, is that going to be deemed a heavier use to you than what is currently being used on the property?
No, I think what we're probably mainly concerned with is what the code references in the industrial section is where somebody's doing, well, look, it says here auto storage or repo yards, concrete manufacturing, storage bins, or junk yards. That's where the regular industrial code says that the alternative screening provision isn't permitted. So the code's telling us that auto storage is a heavier use where they don't where they want a wall around it. So I would say that the answer to that would be yes, based on my reading of the industrial section of the code. Specifically states an auto storage yard.
So auto storage and junkyards are the same thing?
Well, I don't think they're the same thing. I think they're listing a number of uses that they want walls around, and those uses are junkyards, auto storage, repo yards, concrete manufacturing, and aggregate storage bins. So I think that maybe if you talk about auto storage or a repo yard and somebody's got junk cars out there, that may be one thing, as opposed to somebody who's got, like there was, for instance, we just dealt with a gentleman that was parking his trucks out on his yard, and that was a less intensive use, where you'd say, okay, I'm parking my trucks overnight. They come in, they park, and they leave. That, I would say, is probably not going to reach the level of auto storage yards. So if that's the case in what he's saying, then it would probably be the same intensity as what we're doing now. But if it were taking old cars that didn't run and
What
park
I'm
them out
saying
there,
is exactly what you said, to be able to park tractor trailers, and they come at night and they leave in the morning.
then I would suggest that's probably a less intensive use than storing old cars or cars that aren't moving, that aren't able to move under their own power and those types of things.
I would envision that being the same. So.
Okay.
Now, this is a public hearing. Anyone else would like to speak, you're more than welcome to speak.
Thank you, counsel.
Hold on one second, because is there anything else that we've got questions? Now, the motion is to approve the request for the variance, subject to a use change that is more intensive than parking vehicles and the gas distribution system that's there. Is that correct? Joe, that's where we are?
Yeah, that's the request, that we measure, we allow the variance for a similar or less intensive use than exists there right now.
And there's no portion of that motion that requires irrigation around the trees that I heard? So that's a debatable issue with you and the department, but I think we agreed to have shrubbery put in front of the, shrubbery is part of it, but irrigation is, I don't know if it's in the code that says it has to be irrigated. Joe, is it in?
It does not say it has to be irrigated. It just says that it needs to be installed, the applicant shall install a landscape hedge at a minimum of 36 inches. That's already in our conditions as well. So yeah, that would be no irrigation.
No irrigation, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
So he can, man.
Go right ahead.
So he could park semi-tractor trailer trucks there as a holding spot. I mean, not as a salvage spot, but he could.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any comments, final comments from council? The motion was to approve the variance, subject to the condition. This is a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Waldman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough,
Yes.
Mayor Porter.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Legislative matters?
Yes, Mayor, that concludes your quasi-judicial. Moving
Hold
on.
on, hold on one second. I'm sorry, Ms. Wallman.
You have such a limited amount of people here on the dais. Could we just take 5 minutes?
Let's just take a 5-minute recess before we go into legislative matters and let everybody take care of whatever they need to take care of.
Thank you, Council.
I figured that. I figured that. I said maybe it's because.
Let's go ahead and reconvene and go to tab 12, legislative matters. Mr. Attorney.
Tab 12 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 1 definitions, and Article 3 district regulations in order to modify regulations related to outside storage of materials and products and permitted uses within the restricted retail commercial B1 zoning district and the permitted and special exception uses within the retail commercial B2 zoning district, and amending Article 4 supplemental district regulations, Division 8 special exceptions, to provide for commercial real estate use commercial retail uses, and establishing related supplemental regulations and standards, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Staff report, Joe?
Yes, sir. On this one, this is a good one. In this one, we are recommending denial of the proposed code amendment with regards to the minor service and repair of all types of items sold ancillary to the proposed use of hardware. But we are recommending approval of the staff's version of this code amendment. And I need to go back in time and explain this in a little bit of detail. We've been working with the applicant and affected neighbor for quite some time trying to work this issue out. When we found, we had originally understood that there was an issue about the applicant selling lawnmowers in an area where he wasn't allowed to sell lawnmowers. When we got into the code, we found the code to be extremely confusing and a lot out of date. And just the code references uses that don't exist anymore or references things that aren't there. But ultimately, we found that the applicant is operating a hardware store. And we determined that the sale of lawnmowers is not inconsistent with a hardware store, so it should be allowed. What we also found was that the hardware store, specifically hardware stores in this section of the code, was limited to a size of 2,000 square feet. The applicant had a store that was much greater than 2,000 square feet. So we tried to correct that aspect of the code because we felt that specifically limiting just a hardware store to 2,000 square feet while no other use in the district was limited at all by square footage was unfair. So we recommended that we remove the 2,000 square foot limitation on hardware stores, place a limitation on commercial retail, which would cover just about every use in there, and raise that limit to 20,000 square feet, which through our research seemed to be an appropriate threshold to protect against big giant types of stores. In the process, we went and tried to correct a number of other things, like allowing applicants in this area to use there's outdoor storage prohibition. So we believe that it's common for people in this area to have ice machines or keep their propane tanks and things like that to allow reasonable storage of their outside equipment. The only place where we differ on this whole aspect of code review is you'll see it on we have a highlighted portion on page 5 of our code. The applicant wants to have hardware stores include minor service and repairs of the types of hardware and retail items sold ancillary to the principal use. We don't believe that the B1 district should include repair or maintenance of those things. So our language is we would allow hardware stores excluding service and repair. And I do this only for the reason that type of service and repair is something that we allow in the industrial area, the B3, starting in the B3. And if you allow it in the B1, then somebody can come into a B1, which is mainly professional services, and then have a use where you could pull start a piece of equipment and make a lot of noise and it would be very disruptive. It's just not the type of use that you would want in a B1 district. And so we are recommending against the amendment of the code that would include service, and recommending for the amendment of the code that would not include service. And if that wasn't too confusing, I'll try to answer any of your questions and clear it up.
I think it was very good.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly. So it's predicated, you're predicating it more on noise than, I mean, the opinion that you just brought forward more about noise than smells or fumes?
Well, again, when you pull start a lawnmower or heavy equipment or tractor or anything like that, you're going to have noise, you're going to have fumes. They're not necessarily muffled. They're smelly. They've got oil, all types of things. So it's just the whole maintenance of something like that I think doesn't fit the B1 use, which is almost the lightest commercial area we have, which is mainly professional offices, architects, attorneys, those types of things. Just doesn't seem consistent with that very minimally disruptive type of use. In fact, it could be disruptive to the uses that it's around.
And the issue is this is a change in the code, not a variance to the property.
Correct. This is a change in the code, and therefore it would allow this type of use anywhere in the B1 district. It doesn't confine it to this property on US 1. It opens the doors for anywhere there's a B1, and if you wanted to do a hardware store and repair lawnmowers or chainsaws or whatever, you would be able to do this. And that's citywide. And we can't predict, again, we don't know what the unintended consequences of that are, but it's incompatible with the B1 uses in our opinion.
Okay, council questions? Vice Mayor?
My question, one of the concerns I have about the 20,000 square foot as a matter of right through the entire code section. I agree. I don't quite follow the logic or the reasoning necessarily of why they had 2,000 limited for a specific hardware store. So I agree that we should make that use under a B1 equal to all other uses. I think that makes sense. It's fine. But my question, though, or my concern is when we jump all the way up to that 20,000 square foot as a matter of right, meaning that anybody could come in with any type of use that fits in the B1 and do it at the scale or the size of 20,000 square feet. And that makes me a little more uncomfortable because I don't know exactly what that use is going to be. I don't know what the effect's going to be in the neighborhood or in the particular commercial district. And so for me, I'd be more comfortable with some sort of bifurcated or split plan where you did maybe 10,000 as a matter of right, and then by special exception up to 20,000. So it gives the council a little more control over the types of uses and the effects that it might have on the surrounding neighbors or the surrounding area. So just something I'm asking, is it possible from staff, and then just to throw up it as an idea for my colleagues to consider?
We did the research.
Joe, let me piggyback on the heels of what the Vice Mayor said, because is that the only, would we be limiting that to hardware only, or are there limitations to other 20,000 square feet?
No, what we're trying to do is spread the limitation to commercial retail, which would be those types of similar services, not singling out hardware. So it opens it up to a variety of different uses, so it's not as restrictive. 20,000 square feet was a number that we arrived at through our research, which seemed to be a common threshold. You obviously can go lower than 20,000 square feet. We were discussing this today and thought that the lower you went, the higher probability you had with creating existing non-conforming uses. So if you went 5,000 square feet, there are probably somebody in commercial retail that's more than 5,000 square feet that would then be non-conforming. I don't know, I haven't done the research on exactly what size all of these uses are, but the lower you would go, again, the higher probability of creating existing non-conformities. So that's just a cautionary tale there.
Yeah, I guess, because my intention would not be to take existing commercial stores that are qualified under the B1 and conforming at this point in time, and by dropping it to 10,000 or some other arbitrary number, making them non-conforming and catching everybody in a net. So, but I still have the same concern as, and I'd prefer to do some little more research on figuring out maybe before, because this is a 2-reading, City Attorney. This is a 2-reading issue. So that would be something I think for my purposes I'd like to have a little more information on for the second reading. Would be how many people under a certain threshold would be caught in that net, because that would maybe change my mind on whether I wanted to add that second level. But I still have the concern because, again, 20,000 seems like a pretty large product, and especially if it's hardware, if it's some higher intensive use in the B1, could have an effect on the feel of the area. That was just a way of giving the council more control. I don't want to outright say you can't do it, but I want to have at least a second set of safety measures that say, hey, when you get to that point, we want to be able to say it should be a special exception or not. So I do see your concern, and I accept the caution, and I would like a little more facts before it comes back.
So we'll research the number of uses that would be under 20,000?
Well, I mean, my proposal would be somewhere around 10,000 as your first step, and then the next step would be 20,000. So find out how many businesses would be affected in the current B1 of all those uses at that 10,000 threshold. And if the answer is a lot, then maybe we see what's the next step up, and maybe the answer is that it just can't be done without causing a big problem, or without maybe grandfathering everybody in now and then going forward. So just something to think about.
Any other questions from council before I open up the public hearing? Ms. Fairclough, you okay? Way down there? Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing this time. Anyone would like to speak, step to the microphone, name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. For the record, Jeffrey Flanagan with offices at 3399 Ponce de Leon Boulevard, Coral Gables, representing the applicant. As you know, this item, at least from our perspective, is really an attempt to bring a portion of your code up with modern times. And that's what this is about. It's about updating the code. Over the years and over our lives, times change and we change with it. We wear different clothing styles, different hairstyles. We like different music. And our shopping and consumer habits change. And over the years, since this provision, this code was created probably 60 some odd years ago, habits have changed. Back then, big box retailers and the home improvement stores didn't exist. Your code has changed since then to allow them to exist in the city. And that's fine. It's capitalism, it's competition, it's an entrepreneurial spirit. That's what this country was built on. We have no problem with that. But as that happens, those big box retailers and home improvement stores have purchasing power, marketing budgets, advertising power that your homegrown mom and pop businesses don't have. And Barry's Paint and Hardware, as you know, has been in operation since the mid-1970s. It's a second-generation business looking to keep it going for the third generation. And this is an attempt to stay competitive with those other retailers. It started as paint and flooring. It has changed over the years to include other products that the consumers want to buy. Maybe back before some of our times, I think probably most of our times, you had a standalone plumbing store. You had the standalone lawnmower store. You had the standalone electrical store. Those are all combined these days. And you want to go in. You want a one-stop shop. That's the competitive edge that Mr. Berry can provide. He provides it on customer service. He provides it on knowledge. They know who he is. He's sitting right here. You all know who he is. He's there at the store to meet and discuss with his customers what their needs and wants might be. And when they buy something from him, something happens to it. The pull cord breaks, doesn't fire properly. They know where to go back to get it fixed. It allows him to provide the service to the customers that they need and demand, rather than scratching your head and saying, where do I take this piece of equipment? Who do I send it to today? Or who do I call to wait for a part to come back in the mail? This is effectively swapping out parts of hand tools and smaller lawn and garden equipment. It's sharpening blades on lawnmowers and on hand shears. It's changing spark plugs and air filters. I think everybody's heard Mr. Berry say it. He's mentioned it at the Planning and Zoning Board hearings. In this disposable society, it's easier and actually cheaper to swap out the parts. You don't rebuild a carburetor these days. You unscrew it, dispose of it, put a new carburetor in. So the type of repair and the changing the parts out on these products is not something that we see or has been a nuisance, a noise problem. Until this issue came up, Mr. Berry used to service the items that he sold. He would service his paint sprayers, his pressure washers. That never caused a problem, wasn't a nuisance to anybody. You can do service and repair of automobiles in the B2. Those are bigger engines. Those are much bigger vehicles. They're not your small lawn and garden equipment. That's probably more appropriate for the B2. It's more intense. This is much less intense, making it appropriate for the B1. Just like all the B1 uses, it has to be inside of walls. It needs to have a roof. It's in an enclosed space. So you're not outside. You're not working in a yard where people can see you, can smell it, can hear it. And I think, starting the engines, and I've heard that mentioned a couple times over the 6 months that this application has been traveling its way through the process. When you have a hardware store now and you sell these types of equipment, whether it be a lawnmower, a pressure washer, the weed eater, the hedge trimmer, those get started before they go out the door and get sold to the consumer. So they get started already, and there's no problem with it. There's no prohibition on it. So I don't see how repairing the items would create any additional problem or we'll call it a nuisance at the facility, and I suggest to you that it definitely wouldn't. We have worked, and we've worked very, very well with staff over the 6 months between when we submitted the application. We pulled some numbers kind of out of the air, arbitrary numbers, and some suggestive language. We are in agreement with everything except for the repair and the service. We started with blanket repair and service. We didn't know what else to start with. But what Mr. Berry does is service the items that he sells. And so we can easily limit the repair aspect to the types of items that you sell. And of course, it's ancillary to the principal use, which at this point is determined to be a hardware store. So it's not a standalone repair shop again. We had 2 very lengthy hearings in front of your Planning and Zoning Board. This has been vetted extensively by them. Big, long discussions, plenty of questions. They have voted in support of our version of the ordinance, which is to allow the hardware stores with ancillary service and repair of the types of products sold. This is about bringing the code current with what happens today. It's a second-generation business who has dug in and survived since the early 70s, and like many people, has survived through the lean years, has had to be creative, has had to adapt and change in order to survive, and he's done it. And he's trying to do it, and to stay competitive with the other retailers that have been approved, that the code has been changed for. This helps that survival, to take it into the 3rd generation. Mr. Berry's here if you have any questions. I believe there are some other people here, and so I would respectfully reserve some time for rebuttal, if I may, after they speak. We, of course, ask for your support of the item. This is an item that does go for 2 readings, and at a very minimum, that you would vote the matter on to the 2nd reading for next month. And with that, I will remain available for questions.
Thank you. There'll be space and time at the end for any final comments.
Great. Thank you.
Question to the legal staff. This is a 2 reading. If there is a motion to deny tonight, it's not a 2nd reading. So let's be clear that if a motion to deny was to get a majority vote, there's a probability that it doesn't come back up. So the only other way it could come back up is if someone on the prevailing side of the motion chose to bring it up in the following hearing. So it may not be, or could not be.
And Mr. Mayor, even with that, because because it's zoning ordinance, there are procedural issues involved too.
Okay, so explain. So there's some clarity on this.
Bringing it back is more complicated than. First of all, your first statement was correct, which is if it's a negative vote tonight, there's no 2nd reading of the ordinance, absent some procedural moves to bring it back, which become more complicated than normal because of the fact that there's advertising requirements involved with the zoning ordinance. So it could come back, but it's much more difficult than just a regular reconsideration item. It would require re-advertising and so forth. So it's complicated to bring it back 2nd time.
And my point is, it's a little dicey when you've only got 4 council members present at the discussion. So, you know, as we move forward, let's tread lightly on the fact that this is a very close, a complicated issue, and it's a big issue. So, subject to a motion, subject to a majority, there may not be a 2nd reading. Ms. Wallman?
Mayor, exactly for those reasons, I'd like to make a motion that we bring it forth to a 2nd reading so that we'll have more council people here. So I just don't think it's fair to dismiss it without more here.
Well, one thing, there's 2 options. Would be motion to defer. I don't know how that affects advertising. 2nd option would be approved subject to 2nd reading, subject to absolutely more council members.
If you defer, you'd defer to the public hearing's been opened. You'd continue the public hearing to a time certain so that we wouldn't need to re-advertise.
Okay. So just so there's clarity in everybody's mind where we are as a council, we're at a really low threshold for our board to be able to do. There's not much flexibility here. So what I would like to do is I'd like to hear from someone else, whoever would, and this is a public hearing, please come to the microphone and speak, and then we'll see what the will of the council is.
Mayor, just so you know,
Ms. Wallman, go ahead.
that was a motion.
I'm sorry?
That was a motion
To,
to move it forward to a second reading so that we would have more time to ask questions and more council people would be here.
motion to approve the
And move
recommendation?
forward to second reading.
For first reading, okay, there was a motion, I'm sorry, I misunderstood, I apologize. Is there a second on the motion?
Clarification on the motion?
Vice Mayor?
Presently, it's recommended, well, I guess as it is, to deny, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Not to deny.
Well, it's to deny the applicant's version and approve the staff's version,
Okay,
which
that's
is
what I'm
the
asking,
difference
so-
of maintenance. They want maintenance, we don't want maintenance.
Right. So if we moved it forward under the councilwoman's motion, it would be, well, I mean, I guess that's what I'm asking for is clarification on which position you're asking us to approve, because one version is with the applicant's requested changes dealing with repair. The other would be staff's recommended version, which does not include the repair, but includes the changing of the B1 to allow the use. And that's critical on my determination on what I will and won't support. So that's why I'm trying to get clarification.
Well, because we still have, what do we have, 3 council members missing, I just hate to see any of this be denied right here at this point. So my motion would be to, because I have questions about the repair. I don't want to see anybody not be able to do business if they're not disrupting other businesses. So my motion would be it'd be twofold, to move it forward with the stipulation that they would allow the repairs to be done, minor repairs, not anything major, minor repairs, but then it could all change at second reading, but at least we've moved it forward.
Right, the point that I think you're trying to make is move it with the applicant's stipulations added in, subject to second reading when there hopefully will be a larger majority of council members present and more ability to have open discussion. And obviously in the next 30 days, have some additional input from anyone who might have questions from the public.
And from the rest of the community.
That's what I'm saying, from the public. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just clarification, I guess, again, and then I'll be done for a little bit. And that is, if we approved it instead, if we did the opposite, if instead we improved it as staff said, we always have the ability to add back in at the next time the repair. Is that correct? So just because we don't add the repair at this reading doesn't mean it dies for good. We just have to have some portion of this move on to the next hearing, and then any changes can be made at that point, correct?
Right, that's what we were just discussing. Because of the fact that the outside repair portion still would be within the scope of what was advertised, with either version you move on, even if you moved on the staff version, there would be no problem with adding the outdoor work on second reading, or you could move on the alternate version, which would be the applicant's version, either way.
Right, and I guess as a heads up, I would be apt to vote for the one that allowed for staff's version with further discussion to be had on the applicant's request next hearing than I would be to vote for the applicant's request tonight. So just as a heads up to the council, you know, however you guys want to make the motions, fine, but I just want to give you guys clarification on where I'm likely headed with this.
Got it. And there is a motion that's been made.
May I, I'm sorry, Mayor, I have a recommendation that we just thought of based on the square footage requirements. One solution, so maybe if you think it's okay, you can include it in your motion. I just wanted to get that out there before you all made the motion. One thing we may be able to do with square footage requirements is called anything at 10,000 square foot as of right development, and then require everything 10,000 to 20,000 square foot as a special exception. So the only nonconformities that would then exist now that we'll be creating would be anything over 20,000 square feet, which, you good with that?
Yeah, my suggestion on that, Mr. Cordino, is that we not draft this language now, but if there's an interest in limiting it that way, and having the special exception process that we have language for second reading if it passes, so that we know exactly what we're passing. I think it's a very good idea, but I think we should just do that, add it, have it ready for second reading.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to move the ordinance forward, staff version.
Is that the motion? Staff's version move forward, which does not permit small engine repair.
Correct.
And the intent of this is to move it forward so that it doesn't die, possibly die tonight, so that in a month from now, we can all reconvene with a full, hopefully a full council. That's what I'm hearing? Okay.
That would be second reading.
That would be second.
So
It'll be
after that reading, if it passed, then it's done.
Right.
Okay, so
Either
Either
whatever
or.
version passed on second reading, whether it would be the staff version or the applicant's version, that would be the final reading, and it would be effective after that.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay.
Mr. I don't think you finished your public hearing process.
No, I'm not. That's just got that on the table. Okay. So the point that I want everybody to realize, don't leave here tonight thinking this problem is solved.
Right.
Okay, this just keeps the ball moving, subject to us having some more council members at the dais, hopefully at second reading. So, motion is to move it forward as staff recommended, which would not allow small engine repair, subject to the remaining coming in second reading, and it could get completely turned around. So nothing is etched in stone. Still a public hearing. If you'd like to speak, please speak now and realize where we are.
I'm a little confused.
Trust me, it's easy to get confused.
My name is Christy Williams. I'm from Homestead, Florida. All the legal terminology or whatever goes through that. I'm here to speak for a business that's been around for 49 years. And I came to the council, mayor and council members, all except for Ms. Waldman. She was having problems at the time. I wasn't able to meet with her. 8 months ago, to tell y'all that we purchased 26 years ago a B3 zone building to run our business. The business was commercial lawnmower sales and service. For 49 years, we've had every permit possible that you could have, including Durham city permits, county permits, everything. When I came to you 8 months ago, there was a business that was opening a different section of their building and doing the same thing I'm doing. I came to you and said, they're in a B1, they can't do this. They were allowed to do it. The zone said up until right now, and it still states, that it's 2,000 square feet on hardware. They were allowed to go over that. They were allowed to run a business improperly in the city. If he's been doing repair there, he's not a city vendor. He's not supposed to be doing repair, because to have a repair, you have to have a Durham license. You have to have a license to the city. So my whole thing is, if you allow one business to do repairs and to run a B3 business in a B1 zone, then what you're doing is you're shutting down everyone else. And unfortunately, for 8 months this has been going on. It has put us out of business. 49 years Homestead Mower Center has been a part of Homestead, and now the doors are closed. For 8 months, I begged, I borrowed, I pleaded. I came to every one of you and begged you, please, let's make sure there's a zone change before we allow somebody to do this. This is going to put me out of business. On a B3, I'm tucked behind the street. I have to stay in the ugly part because that's where B3 zones run. Repairs, gas, oil, all that was always tucked behind the pretty businesses on US 1. That's why all the pretty businesses are on US 1, and they don't allow this. By allowing him to continue to break the law, you've put my family, my family's family, my children, every bit of us into such a turmoil that I'm not sure we can ever recover from this. So what I'm asking you is, my damage is done. Do not give this man, or this zone, actually, it's not just the gentleman, it's the zone. If you give the whole zone, you'll put every B3 business out of business, because we can't compete on a back road with a front road. That's basically all I have to say.
Thanks. Now let's get some clarification from staff. Um, 8 months, what's the response from staff? I mean, we're elected officials. What took place in this 8 months?
We got the initial complaints. We worked with the two parties involved. We just attempted to figure out a way to proceed. It took a while. We figured out, we came to an agreement on exactly what type of application would need to be submitted. They submitted an application, and we've gone back and forth on a pretty complex issue, trying to make sure that we made the right decision. We were deferred at planning and zoning for 1 month, so it's been a pretty complicated process that we've been working through, trying to arrive at the right answer with both parties. We've tried to include them in our conversations as we've gone through. Our attempt was to get it right, and not and then do nothing else but that.
Understood. Okay. I know that the manager was heavily involved trying to come to some sort of conclusion. We want to put everybody out of business. That's one of the things we just talked about with the code and the restrictions that we have currently in the industrial areas. We need to be less of an impediment and more of a streamline to make things happen properly. Did you want to say something, Joe? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Just to add to that, we really didn't allow the business to continue. We had code enforcement where we asked the operator to stop. We had worked with both parties and asked that the things that were offensive, that were continuing to occur, that would have been negative, potentially negative to the other party, that those things cease. And so we did attempt to stop those things during the process so they weren't ongoing and then negative. So our attempt was to freeze it in place from where we heard it so that we could work it out and move it through. So, and we had bumps in the road with that as well, but we were attempting to, again, make sure that we stopped the negative impact until we figured it out and then proceeded.
Okay, so what I'd like to do, what I'd really like for everybody to do is let's reserve all the comments for the rest of the council members, because we don't need to do this over and over again, because I'd like for them, the rest of those that are not here tonight, to be able to hear both sides of the story, and to continue with us and just not have to do it again really doesn't make any sense. So let us deal with this, push it forward. Let's get the rest of the council members at the table so we can all hear it one time correctly. Is that okay?
And Mayor, I just wrote my assistant a note to make sure we have a meeting, Christie. So we'll make a meeting in the next week or so.
Okay, thank you. It's fine. Now it's not going to really matter. It's not going to make a difference. But I did want to make 2 points for something that Joe said.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
That we did have several problems with code enforcement, and Mr. Cordino and Mr. Grekus are very aware of that there was problems. That the things that they were cited for, they were continued to do. We produced pictures, we produced videotapes, we produced comments, things like that. The city was also taking equipment to be repaired there when they weren't a licensed repair vendor. They went in front of the general magistrate, and the general magistrate told them they were not allowed to sell lawn equipment until it was solved. The following Saturday, we went in and had someone purchase lawn equipment, lawnmower from them. So I understand that he said he worked closely with us and that it was tried to be stopped, but unfortunately, I highly respect that gentleman and Mr. Grekus. They have done everything possible, but some people just continue to break the law, and that's what put us out of business, that they weren't following the rules. I also would like Tucker Gibbs to at least get a chance to speak, since he did travel all the way down here tonight to speak on my behalf.
Absolutely. I just was wanting to remind everybody that we're going to have to do it all over again.
I understand. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Tucker Gibbs. I have law offices at 3835 Utopia Court in Coconut Grove, and I'm here to represent Kevin and Christy Williams. I'm not going to make my presentation, but I do want to reiterate what this is about. This is about an operation that it was illegal. And you all know it was illegal. It continued to operate illegally. And now, if you vote for the proposal that is before you from the applicant, you are rewarding a business that operated outside the law, that violated your code, that was found to be guilty by a general magistrate, and also help put somebody out of business who was operating within the law, who followed every single rule. And that's our concern. And you don't create ordinances just to reward one person, and whether it's on purpose or not, punish another who was following the rules. And I reserve my time for the next meeting so we can discuss this further, but that's our position. And we would urge you to vote for the, as you are hopefully going to do tonight, vote for the staff recommendation, because we do support the staff recommendation. With the provisos that were brought up by the Vice Mayor, we think they're excellent ideas about the size. Thank you very much.
Any final comments from council? Everybody knows the motion we're voting on? Oh, I'm sorry, close the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 13. Who's got it? Who's got the ball?
Tab 13 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, establishing fees to be charged by the city for news rack permits pursuant to the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, Article 7, news racks within the right-of-way, providing for enforcement and providing for an effective date.
Staff report, Joe.
Yes, sir. This is a product of our last meeting where we approved the news rack ordinance and came to an agreement at that time about a fee. This is simply adding that fee into the fee resolution. We suggested that the initial company application fee would be $125, and then each news rack would be reviewed and processed at a fee of $10 each, and we recommend approval of that.
Questions from council? I want to commend the Vice Mayor's recommendation to break this out into away from the ordinance. I think it's a great solution to the problem that gives some flexibility to everybody. So this is a public hearing. Hearing no questions from council, it's a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak for or against? I know the news leader has had ample opportunity and they're happy. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments? Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 14.
Tab 14 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, revising compensation under the agreement and approving the total authorized amount of compensation for building department services for the 2013-2014 fiscal year concerning services provided to the city pursuant to the consultant agreement between the city and MC Causely, Inc., making final adjustments for previous fiscal year, providing a method for making adjustments in the current fiscal year, and providing for implementation and an effective date.
Report from staff.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. Background on this, due to the increased activities and revenues from the permits in fiscal year 2003 and the similar projected increase in 2014, we're requesting that the mayor and council amend the contract for our professional service consultant, MT Causely, from 480 to 533 of 995 in 2013, and from 590 and to 598 750 in 2014. Both those amounts are within the approved budgeted amounts that we approved in both fiscal years, and the monies are sufficient to cover any of the amendments.
Move it, Mayor.
Is a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further questions from council? It's a public hearing. We have additional opportunities. We have additional work, and we're creating additional revenues.
Yes, sir.
So it's a good thing.
Yes, sir. It's volume based.
I see none from the public. I'll close the public hearing. Final comments from council. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Back of the book. City attorney's on the other side of the room. Is there anything from the manager?
Mayor, just a reminder to all the citizens of Homestead that we have an important election coming up on May 13th. We encourage them to become educated and to attend their civic opportunity to weigh in on the future of Homestead. Thank you.
May 13. Mr. Attorney, you have anything? Business from Mayor and Council? Ms. Faircloth?
None at this time, Mayor.
Ms. Waldman?
Just very quickly, this Saturday, April 26th, is our Biscayne Everglades Greenway Bike Festival. It's going to be at the Homestead Miami Speedway. The ride begins at 9:30 a.m. and the festival begins at 11:30 a.m. We're going to have lots of fun in the afternoon. It's a 10.25-mile fat tire bike, and we're going to show off the Greenway a little bit. That's what we're there to do. But in the afternoon, we're going to have fun. It's a festival. We have Main Highway playing. We have lots of vendors. Relay for Life is selling hamburgers and hot dogs. So I encourage all of you to come out. And council will be there at 11:30, hopefully, to greet everyone with me. And I think it'll be fun. And on Friday night, the night before, we will be having something unique happen, and that will be that the National Parks Conservation Association will be in Homestead filming the groundbreaking and beginning stages for our Greenway here in Homestead. Now, we've done a lot of things to the Greenway connecting the two national parks, but there's a portion of the Greenway that goes within the city limits. So this will be the first part of the Greenway that will actually be made here in Homestead, and that came from a $15,000 grant through Nature Valley. I want to thank Vice Mayor Shelley for bringing that to me. He and I are kind of Siamese twins when it comes to saving the Everglades and Biscayne National Park and doing things that'll be wonderful for them. So that'll be at 6 o'clock, and that's over on Maui Drive near 162nd Avenue. And again, I've already said it, that April is Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. So I encourage everybody to remember that. And I just want to piggyback on what David Hebert said, our Assistant City Manager. We have a very important vote to take on May 13th, and I really encourage you to do your homework. I beg you to go out and vote. We have to have a new police station. We're setting with the Seminole Theater building that's not finished. So there's nothing we can do until it's finished. So I beg you to go out and whether you vote yes or no, just exercise your vote. Thank you.
That's it, Ms. Wallman?
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Three items today, Mayor. The first, I want to announce the Military Appreciation Day event that's coming up on May 17th from 3 to 8 p.m. in Losner Park. This will be our third annual event. Hopefully it's going to be bigger and better than it has been the last 2 years, and last year was a very successful event. We had thousands of people show up and attend that event. This year we're adding a Black Hawk flyover to the opening ceremonies at the event, so be there early so you can actually watch the Black Hawks as they fly down Chrome Avenue. We'll have the live bands, Main Highway and Moho Scoundrels. We'll have the static displays like we did last year all up and down Chrome Avenue. Actually, we're extending the length of which Chrome Avenue and the number of static displays, as well as vendors, and the food trucks will be there as well. There's a student art and essay contest again this year. The deadline is April 25th. So those who haven't entered yet, you still have some time to do so. I encourage you to do it. There'll be cash prizes for the top 3 in different age groups. It's also the month of May starts Military Appreciation Month. And so there are participating businesses can give discounts to our military personnel with a picture ID or a military ID. It's for the entire month of May. Provide that information to the City of Homestead and to the Chamber of Commerce, and they'll put your name of your business and that discount that you're providing on the website to help promote the business and let the military men and women know. And again this year, if you wear your uniform, if you're a military man or woman, you're automatically entered into a raffle with the top prize this year going up from $500 to $700 cash prize, with a second and third place prize as well. And again, as well, if you have the military ID, you will get a voucher from the Military Affairs Committee to actually use at the food trucks or the local establishments on Chrome Avenue in downtown Homestead for a meal or for food. So it's going to be another great event. I encourage everybody to come out. It's again May 17th between 3 and 8 p.m. in Losner Park in downtown Homestead. Also related to downtown Homestead, this weekend will be the last weekend to ride the Homestead National Parks trolley. It'll stop running the very last weekend of April, which is this weekend, but it'll resume again next November. So if you haven't had an opportunity to ride, or if you have ridden it and you want to ride again, it will be coming back in November. So look forward to that. Put that on your calendar, and if you can, catch this last weekend because it's your last chance for the last couple of months. And another update on FDOT, the Chrome Avenue truck bypass and the saving of the palm trees. I received today by email a memorandum from FDOT in which the local district office had recommended our changes that we had all wanted to, which saves the trees, it keeps the footprint within the Chrome Avenue corridor. What I'll be doing is I'll send an email out and provide that memo to all the mayor and council so that you can see it firsthand. It still has to go to the district office and the central office from FDOT to get final approval, but at least it's moving forward. They've heard our concerns, and they're working forward to I guess, finding a solution to what we wanted and also what the residents wanted here in the city of Homestead. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Under my business, I have all of the committee chairs have been asked to submit their information as to the personnel that they would like to serve on their committees. There's a question with a couple of the committees. I'm not 100% sure if we meet the ratio of resident to non-resident. And I think, Ms. Faircloth, you have, as the Education Committee, are you sure? You're sure that, correct? So Education Committee is ready to move forward. The Mayor's Youth Council is ready to move forward. The question that's kind of come up is the Southwest Advisory Committee and Historic Preservation Board, if we have the correct ratio of resident or non-resident. So what I would request tonight is, can we move Education Committee and can we move Mayor's Youth Council forward with those appointees?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jimmy Williams.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Southwest Advisory and its rate to the committee. What is, help me understand, what do you mean by that?
The question that was brought to my attention by the attorney was there is a ratio of resident to non-resident applicants that can be, we have to meet some sort of criteria, and we weren't completely sure that the ratio was correct on the Southwest Advisory and the Historic Preservation Board.
And what number is that? Because all of the members that are on the board, maybe except for one, does not live in Homestead. So what are the questions of who?
Richard,
They're all residents of Homestead, then that answers the question, and it's fine.
So so Councilman, you're saying all of them but one are residents of Homestead?
Yes.
Okay.
So my question then becomes, if that is the case, why would not, I guess, notify through email or what have you? Why do it in this manner?
Councilman Williams, we thought that was being verified by the clerk. That's sort of like part of the normal process, but apparently it wasn't verified, or we really can't get a hold of the clerk to. What's the answer, Patty?
My understanding is the council members whose committee it was, they made the recommendations, but I wasn't involved in that process, so I can't say for sure they verified the resident ratio quota, but we're getting confirmation tonight that they did.
I have no problem moving them forward based on you're saying, Mr. Williams, that the ratio is correct. I was just asked by the clerk, or I was advised that some of the questions may still be out there as to resident ratio. So if you're saying that they're correct, we can move them forward.
Well, I believe what the charter says is that, the ones that live in Homestead or within the Southwest neighborhood are business owners. So if you go back and look at the charter, it speaks clearly about the makeup of the board. So I don't know why that will be have been challenged, because
that was not the issue. And furthermore, application of those persons was turned in a couple of cycles ago, so they should be on file.
I think it's just a matter of, Councilman, I think it's just a matter of when it was on the agenda, we just did not know whether it had been verified that the supermajority, which is what was required on any committee, be people who've lived in Homestead for more than 1 year. I didn't know whether that had been verified or not.
Okay, and the names you have on the list, Mayor, do you mind calling them out?
Travius Smith, Kevin Miles.
He's a Homestead resident.
Luana Braggs, Fred Bird.
They're Homestead residents.
Adelia Martinez. Dwight Lee, Jeanette Mallory.
Southwest, and she is a resident.
Okay. If the council has no problem,
Yeah,
we'll move that one as well, Councilman. It was just a question that was brought to my attention, and I didn't realize you were still on the phone.
Oh yeah, I've been on the phone the entire meeting.
Okay, now it's the Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Historic Preservation Board, I think these are all reappointees. These are the existing members from the prior board. So, and again, I haven't verified, I don't know who is or who is not a resident, but I know that these are just reappointments from the last cycle, from the last 4 years plus, so I don't know.
So if they met the criteria before, they'll meet the criteria again?
Right.
Okay. Unless they move. So.
And I have no independent verification of which of each one of these, whether they are or not, but I was just bringing that up as a point that these are reappointed.
Why don't we appoint them subject to verification, and if there's a problem, I just want I was just trying to avoid a situation where these people were appointed and then they were deemed to be ineligible, and I thought would be very embarrassing. So why don't we, as long as we understand that they need to go back and verify, why don't you appoint them subject to verification, and if there's some problem, we'll bring it back to you.
And only will it come back if there's a problem?
Correct.
Otherwise, everything
Otherwise,
is done.
it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay, so we're asking to move 1, 2, 3, and 4 forward tonight. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I also have 4 vacancies on the Co-Compliance Special Master Board. And also, I read here, there's 1 more vacancy on the Mayor's Youth Council. So subject to applications and bringing that forward to you as well, we'll fill those positions. I really don't have any other business. Mr. Manager? Seems to be a lot of complaints about customer service. Can somebody just take a look at and follow somebody? It seems to be that there's really a hard time getting a hold of people at customer service. So I just get bits and pieces of what appears to be maybe some breakdown somewhere. So could you please just have somebody take a look and see what if they need something, can you bring that back to us if there's some sort of a problem? Because it seems to be, and maybe it's only me, but it seems to me there's a reoccurring complaint cycle with customer service, and I think we could do better. And if we have to do something as the legislative body, bring something to us to debate or to discuss or to decide.
We'll be happy to look into it for you, Mayor, and get back to you. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
There's very few reoccurring problems. Everybody does a super job, and this may be something that's just it may not be, but I would appreciate someone taking a look at it and bringing some information back to us.
Happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Good night, everyone. Thank you.